Process by which I'm going to turn an Ikea stool into a sort of a safety play tower for my son for Christmas. So this is just the raw materials here. This is based on a link my wife forwarded me from a blog, and I will put the link at the bottom of the YouTube video in the comments. But basically we start with an Ikea stool. It's the Bequem, or however you pronounce it. There's the part number. This was about $15, and I think shipping may have even... it wasn't free, but it wasn't very expensive. That's sort of the base of it, and then here's the lumber I bought just at Lowe's. 2 4-foot sections of 1x4, and 2, I believe these are 36-inch sections of 2x2, and then a 1/5 dowel. And that's all the lumber I need. So I bought, you could buy this in pine. I just sprung for a little bit nicer, and the lumber ended up costing more than the Ikea stool. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up the Ikea stool and assemble most of it except the top, and I'll see you back here when that's done. So here's the mostly assembled Bequem stool. I have not put the top on yet, and there's a reason for that, but like all Ikea things, it goes together pretty quickly, and you know, only 2 or 3 times that I have to take it apart and re-put it back together, so that's pretty good. So I haven't quite tightened these down yet because we need them to line up with these once we put the top back on. So what I'm going to do now is take it in and measure it against the height of my countertop so that I know how tall I want my uprights to be. So I'm going to go do that. Alright, so here it is placed against the counter with the upright on it for positioning. What I don't want is for it to be exactly flush with the counter, so when his hand's wrapped around it, his fingers will get smashed in between. So I'm going to go a little bit higher up, and that put it at, I believe, 18 inches. So, get my measuring tape out. 18 inches is there. So I'm going to cut the 2 uprights to 18 inches. Or rather 4 uprights to 18 inches, and then 2 to, I believe it's 9 1/3 to cover the distance between them, and then I'm going to screw those cages together. The reason we didn't put the top on is that we want to be able to put screws through the bottom here to hold these uprights in position. So that's why we haven't finished the Bequem stool yet. Alright, so I'll be back once I've made my cuts. So there are the uprights cut. My next step, these aren't drilled in or anything, but this is where they'll be on the top of the stool, which is why we've left it off again. I'm going to drill through there and I'm going to attach it, probably using some bolts and washers, just to make sure they're nice and secure. My next step will be to cut the 1x4s. I'm going to do, so if this is the back side where the steps are, I'm going to do 2 cross rails on the far side, 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom, and then 2 on each side, shorter, top and bottom. And on the side where you enter, we're going to leave it mostly open except put our wooden dowel about 2/3 of the way up so he can crawl up but then can't fall back. So those will be the next steps. Kind of losing daylight here, so I think those will have to be tomorrow. Alright, well I did manage to make all the cuts yesterday. So here's my lumber. These are my 4 uprights, 18 inches. These are the 2 front slats, which are 16 inches, and these are the 4 support pieces, which are 9 1/3 inches each. I just sanded all of them, kind of take the edge off there with 3 grades of sandpaper. And now I'm going to clean them up and paint them before I assemble. Just because it'll be easier to paint them while they're flat and not get drips. So we'll check back once I've done that. So here I am in mid-painting. This is just some old interior satin we actually used in my son's bedroom. I'm going to give a couple of coats on here and maybe put some polyurethane on some of the more busy surfaces so that it'll be easy to clean. But so this is just 1 coat. It's going to need sanding, probably at least 2 coats. It's a satin instead of a high gloss, unfortunately, but it's what I've got. And here's the stool itself, so coming along. So I'll keep working on this. Okay, so I've started drilling the holes on the bottom here. I kind of pre-painted the top, just did a coat and sanded it a little bit. I lined up the legs on the top just to kind of get an idea and sort of traced out where they were on the back, and then I drilled a single hole for the screw, which I then matched here, and then I kind of did a larger hole around it because I'm going to countersink these since this is going to be flat on the top of the stool and I don't really want it to be sticking out. This is how it's going to get anchored. Those are what came with the bekvem stool. This will be obviously facing down, but I probably will put just a single coat of paint on before I finally assemble it, just to kind of, you know, hit any weird angles that might otherwise show up as unpainted. So yeah, my next step is going to be assembling the, or putting the uprights on. And again, these have all had one, so that's had 2 coats. That's 1 coat plus sanding. They're all probably going to need, well, the 2 coats look pretty good, but the other 2 sides still need a 2nd coat, and then I'm probably going to hit the whole thing with some kind of a clear lacquer. Rather than do a polyurethane brush, I think I'm just going to spray it. It is winter time here, so we'll have to figure out where we're going to do that, but this will all get a touch-up coat of paint when I'm done. It'll just be easier because I've already sort of pre-painted and sanded to put it all together at the end. So the next step will be to assemble the uprights and then start putting the braces on. So here are the uprights assembled. Again, they're screwed in. I decided against using bolts for a couple of reasons. 1, I found some pretty decent wood screws, and 2, they do need to be flush. That one probably needs to go in a bit. But, so you can see here, it lays flat, which it will be doing on top of the other stool as well. So now I need to put the 2, if that's the front, the 2 horizontal cross pieces there, and then the braces on the sides, and then I need to drill a hole for the dowel to go here. So those 3 things to do, and then attach it to the front and do a final paint job and polish, and we're done. Well, the front 2 railings have been put on. Unfortunately, you can see I didn't get them quite lined up. That's the danger of eyeballing it. But again, I've countersunk these, and I used a little 1/2-inch oh gosh, I don't even know what you would call it, a 1/2-inch drill, and I'm going to put these over it. These will be painted, but they're just wood buttons that will fit into these gaps, and, well, they'll probably have to be glued in, but once I glue them and paint them, that will make these look a little nicer. So when it's done, there won't be exposed screws. I'll do this on the front, and when I do the side braces as well, I'll do them. And I may do some kind of little ornamentation thing on the top here, just get a little rondel or something to put up there. Just, you know, make it have something fun to grab onto, like a little ball would maybe be fun for him to hold on to. I don't know. So tomorrow, yeah, I'm running out of daylight again. Danger of doing it on the shortest day of the year. I will do the side pieces, drill the hole for the dowel, put the dowel through, and maybe tonight I'll get to do some painting on this so that it'll be pretty much ready to slap together and call it mostly done tomorrow. Hello. So I decided to not wait until morning. I wanted to get this assembled tonight and painted overnight so that tomorrow I can do the sort of final assembly. So here it is. Side brackets are on, front supports are on. The only thing I have left to do is to drill out a spot here so that this dowel can come across. The dowel is a 5/8 inch, I believe, so I can do an exact, actually, sorry, I think it's a 3/8 inch dowel. I could do an exact size bore through. What I'll probably end up doing is doing a 1/2 inch bore so that the dowel is removable, because once it's in, you see I left a little bit of room on either side. It can stay in act as a lock, but it can also then pop out so that he can climb in and out a little bit more easily. I have seen in the design where people just kind of fit it in and it stays there and the kid can crawl underneath. But I think I'll probably do the 1/2-inch design. I may also buy some, just get like a drawer pull or something for one side of it so that it won't slide all the way through. You can kind of slide it into one side and then it'll click like a pin. But I do think this is it for tonight, and I'm going to paint it up, and hopefully tomorrow we'll get to see the finished product. I don't have enough buttons to finish all of these either, so I'm going to have to pick up some more of those wooden buttons. But I do think it looks nicer with the finished buttons there, and obviously you see all the unfinished edges that need painting. I also thought about maybe putting a little bit of ornamentation here and here. Maybe just, again, some sort of fancy drawer pulls would sit there nicely, and he could stand there like a preacher at a pulpit or something. Okay, that's it for the night. Alright, we're on day 3, and I have assembled the tower onto the stool. You can see it still needs some painting. And I've made a mistake. So I initially was going to put the dowel in here, but that put it right at my son's butt level, which meant that this would have just been a great thing to flip over backwards. So I re-drilled, moved it higher, and I'm going to leave it in permanently. And so that means I have some holes to fill in. So I've got 2 sets. I don't need that hole there. So I'm just going to take some extra bit of dowel. Mine is cut longer. I was originally going to leave it longer for a handle to pull in and out. Since I'm going to put it in and just leave it, I'm going to use these extra bits and just make a couple of plugs just to sort of reinforce that and get rid of the holes. So it won't be as pretty, but it's not that pretty to begin with. But here it is, mostly done. I will come back one more time once it's all finished and painted up and hopefully lacquered, which should be the end of the day today. And then that will be my son's major Christmas present this year. And he already likes it. It's been impossible to keep him off of it, so that's good. Well, here's the final product. Well, almost final. I still have to get a couple more of those wood buttons to finish it off, but they'll all look like that eventually. And as you can see, it's already got some stains on it because it's being well used. My son loves it. So there you go. In the flesh, as it were. Thanks for watching.